when you really hear that at first, you think the high achievers that are up here. There aren't too many people way up here, but it's what those people are doing that got them there. And that's 8% of the people. It's not the 92% of the others. But what those 8% of the people are doing is behind the scenes. It's really what they do before they're building their big dream or goal or big business or whatever it is. They're laying their foundation. They're laying that strong foundation for these grand and glorious things to be built upon. And that is putting together those smarter plans.
Are you confident? Do you have consistency? How much conviction do you have? I'm Daniel Gomez, the Confidence Architect, a business strategist, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best-selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you unlock confidence to create consistency and develop conviction. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. And wow, our guest today, she has a smile so big, so vibrant, it shines like the sun. And God knows that I needed to see this smile today. We had a conversation before we started, and she really just put a bigger smile on me. And I mean that from my heart. So I want to tell you from the get-go, she's going to drop a lot of value, a lot of great wisdom just from her own life experiences and how she's become an amazing just coach and speaker and entrepreneur, overcoming adversities in her own life and how she's applied that to business. And so get your pen and paper out. Let's start early. Something magical happens when you put pen to paper. So let's welcome to the show, Miss Patty J. Grover. How you doing, Patty?
Fantastic. And Daniel, thank you so much for having me.
No, I'm honored to have you. Every time I talk to you, I said this before we started the show is man, you always just make me feel good. And I always think about, man, I think I'm positive, but I tell you, you take the cake. And I mean that from my heart because it's a beautiful thing when you see somebody that's always smiling. I know what an amazing person you are, Patty. So let the audience of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show know who you are and tell us a little bit about yourself for the introduction, if you don't mind.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I'm Patricia Joe Grover, also known as a goal achievement strategist. And, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I have the Patricia Joe Grover Show. And, what it is all about is I don't know if it's the point of life that I'm at, Daniel, my maturity or what I have been through to gain wisdom, but I now choose to live my life purposefully, joyfully, and gratefully. And to me, that's the perfect trifecta. If you have little circles and you draw that spot where they all meet in the middle, to me, that's bliss. And I love being there myself, and I want to help more people have that same feeling.
I love that. Bliss, right? Bliss.
Yes.
So I'm curious. I loved your title, Go Achievement Coach. How did you come up with that, Patty? Because I'll tell you, you hear a lot of, somebody calls themselves a goal coach and it's kind of bland, but I like the way you put that spin on it, Goal Achievement Coach. How did you arrive to that name?
Well, Daniel, and I will just say, I had struggles when I was a child and went through difficult situations that affected me well into adulthood. And I had to take, at that point, after 3 failed marriages and divorces, take the time to learn to know, like, trust, and ultimately love myself. And when I took that time, that part of my journey, I spent about 9 years really digging deep. And I had to sift through the ashes of difficulties that I had gone through and looked at those and really dig deep and say, what happened? What went wrong? What could I have done differently? And actually really think about how my life could have gone a totally different direction and be thankful that it didn't, with all that. So how I say goal achievement strategist is really, I had to create that action plan for myself of how I was going to not let the past hold me back, but actually use it as a tool to move me forward. Because I wanted to have more, be more, and do more. And I couldn't let that past hold me back.
You know what? You said something that caught my attention there. And I want to kind of go a little bit deeper on that. You said know, like, and trust.
Yes.
Do you think many people don't know, like, and trust themselves?
Yes, I do. I think that is very, very true. And let me say by that, when I say no, what I mean by, know what your own strengths are. Pat yourself on the back. What I do with clients is I do like a SWOT analysis. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities and what are your threats at your current time? Because as a goal achievement strategist, I help people get from point A to point B. But you can't get anybody from point A to point B if they don't know where they're starting from to begin with, and including their strengths,
Wow.
And
I never saw it that way. So let's go back, right? You kind of shared it. If it's okay with you, I would like to kind of just, because there's people that have been in a divorce, one divorce, and that, I mean, we have a close friend that got divorced and the kids suffer, right? So I can't
yes,
imagine going through 2, 3 divorces. And I think there's probably some people, men and women, listening to this episode that this is really going to speak to their hearts. And I'm glad we talk about it with your permission, right? To open up your
yes,
heart
yes.
is what did you learn, right? What were going back to those marriages, what was something that you need to learn that was causing you to go through 3 divorces that you had to kind of just learn to know, like, and trust yourself again?
Well, so that goes back to Daniel, and I won't go way back, but what I will tell you is because I didn't have the family experience that most children do of one form or another, I didn't have that. So I didn't know what a healthy, happy relationship was supposed to be like. So I had to have a lot of trial and error. And what I would say, as out of the 3 different marriages, they were all different people. You've heard people say, well, hey, you keep going back to the same person or same thing, but mine wasn't. It was a different thing every single time. And so none of the things quite worked right because they weren't the right people for me.
Yeah.
And I believe, Daniel, that God puts in our path who we need to have at that point in time. And, not that it was that I needed to be married and divorced that many times, but that helped me find the pieces of myself that, I really needed to get to know.
I'm so glad we're talking about it. I wasn't even thinking about it, but now that we're in this episode, it's amazing because people have been locked up for all of 2020.
Yes.
And I think a lot of these things are coming out right now. And I think a lot of families that didn't realize they had issues. And I like what you said, the unhealthy household. And we all have some type of form of healing that we need, right? So
Yes.
not to say that I'm perfect or our family's perfect, because I deal with stuff too. I need to be healed in a deeper level always. There's always a deeper level. I truly believe that. I want you to speak to those people right now because you went through 3 divorces. You went through that, and that's awesome. And I want you to write this down. I don't know who this is in the audience right now, but just listen to what Patty's saying, that she went through 3 divorces and she still got married again, and she took that chance. She learned how to trust herself. And just because you haven't trusted yourself once, twice, or 3 times, has been the wrong decision or the wrong situation, whatever it may be for you, that doesn't mean that your next decision, your next choice that you make is not going to be a winning one. Because that's what I see in you, Patty. I see a
Right.
champion. I see a beautiful woman. So do me a favor, talk to that person right now that has, and maybe, I want you to speak to somebody who's been divorced. Maybe there's a person listening to this show right now that feels like a failure. They feel like they haven't just lost, right? Because, man, I've gotten divorced once, twice. Take a moment and just look in the camera and speak to that person if you don't mind.
I want you to know that you are worthy and you are capable of having a happy, healthy relationship. But it all starts with you have to be able to know, like, trust, and love yourself. So what I had to do, again, I had to kiss a lot of toes before I found my prince. But you have to know that you are worthy of it and you are capable of having it. Again, it goes back to, for yourself, loving yourself, because you have to show up for yourself before you can show up for anybody else. In a relationship, it's a two-way street. So you have to be able to show up for that other person too. So that's what I would go to, Daniel, is to tell.
I love that, right? You have to love yourself and show love to yourself before you can show love to someone else. That is so powerful. Yeah, I need to write that down. That's a boom, baby. She's drawing some wisdom right now. So let me ask you this. I love that, right? Because I believe what you just said is you have to love yourself and show love. I think this is the key, what I'm getting from what you're saying. There's many of us, we think we love ourselves, or we believe we love ourselves, or we just say we love ourselves, but we never show love to ourselves.
Right.
Really on a deeper level. So let me ask you this. In what area of your life, like coming back from your childhood and growing up, how did you have to learn how to love yourself, Patty? And I think by you sharing this part with us, you're going to heal a lot of hearts here on the show today.
Again, I had to, at this point, really look at what I had for strengths. What did I have? What did I want to bring forth to the world? And for me, I realized that I had a passion for helping people, specifically women, feel better about themselves, mentally, physically, in that, because of what I had experienced as not having seen this. So for me, that was a big thing. So again, that's going back and digging deep for ourselves. And that was, for me, what I needed to do. So I can say that once you have done this, right now, I can tell you, I have no questions, ands, ifs, or buts, that I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I know my purpose and I know my why. So that's what I would have people work and dig for, because once you have those, it's the basis for putting your whole life upon to be able to move forward in a positive direction. And there's a lot of work.
So let me ask you this. What was the one thing that you really had to learn? You said the word trust. How did you, or how, in what manner did you have to learn how to trust yourself in?
That would be in my choices of who I was putting my trust and love into, instead of just going with somebody who automatically showed it to me. So that was my, I guess you would want to call it, my relationships, and building those relationships strong.
Wow, that's powerful. Yep. Let me ask you this, because I want to shift here a little bit. You're growing up, you're going through your journey, you become the coach, and you're doing amazing now. What part of your journey did you lose your confidence? And what did you learn about yourself in that moment, Patty?
I would go back to, after being married and divorced 3 times, that really does affect your confidence. You wonder, what's wrong with me? What am I doing? Can't I have a happy life? Am I worthy of that? So that's where it was. And for me to build that up, what I would say, Daniel, is, and that's where I've gotten and put together the information for the book, and what I use to coach people, is you have to have those incremental wins. When you start having those incremental wins, you gain self-esteem, self-confidence, and that powers you to move forward. So that's where it all goes to, is really having those little wins.
I love that. Write that down, ladies and gentlemen. You need to have those incremental wins. And right. Those incremental wins are going to help you to build your self-esteem. Think about that, right? What comes to mind right now is compound interest. Those small wins don't seem so huge, but right. The more and more you have them, the more and more your confidence is built up. And so what did you learn about yourself? Looking back, what did you learn about yourself as you were building up your confidence? And you said, you know what, I'm going to take one more step at this marriage stuff. I haven't done it, right? It hasn't been a winning thing for me. I haven't done it right, is what I wanted to say. But what did you, when you built up that confidence, like, what did you learn about yourself when you said, you know what, let's do this again?
Well, with all those wins comes that confidence. But then when you have something that you're going after, so your next goal, you're more aggressive, and you're saying, you're giving yourself, okay, I'm going to stretch myself this much further. So when you're doing that, you're elevating yourself, personally and professionally. So once you have that and you're bolstered, and then you have courage, that gives you more courage than you may have otherwise had. So then that puts you on a different playing field, because you're going to choose to take a few more risks than you may have done before. And how, for relationship wise, how that worked for me is then I chose to put myself out there. And when I chose to put myself out there, I actually met my fourth husband. I met him on a dating, on Match.com, believe it or not. And,
Yeah, no.
yeah, yeah. But you know what? In the listing of when I was doing that, I didn't say likes to take moonlit strolls on the beach. I had my man must. I had the whole list all laid out. And if you don't answer, if you're not one of these things, don't even bother. I put it out there. That's like manifesting. I manifested my husband. I did it through prayer. I did it through what I was putting out to the world, but I also did it to what I was putting out on Match.com.
Well, you know what? I love that. I love what you just said. Listen to what Patty just said. She just said that when she went on and to meet her husband, she put expectations. She put standards. And I think so many of us, especially coming out of this year of 2020, and the reason I say this is because so many of us human beings have we've lowered our standards.
Yes.
Right? We've lowered our standards, and our expectations are like, well, we're locked up, or we can't go anywhere. Just so your expectations go from on cloud 9 all the way down. No, you got to raise your standards. You got to raise your expectations. And just the way Patty said, she raised her expectations. She raised her standards, and she got what she desired in her husband. And how long have you been married now, Patty?
And the funny thing is, Daniel, at this point, it is like now that we've been together for our whole lives, and not in a bad way, but in a good way, because we're meant to be. We both forget our anniversary. We know the date. we know the date. One year we actually even celebrated it a whole month separate. I think we're 11 years now, maybe 15.
Wow. Congratulations.
With that, and the funny thing is, Daniel, this is really funny, is I had a daughter prior to us being married, and he had a daughter. And so both of the girls never wanted to be only children, but when we got together, now, how often does this happen? When we got together, our two daughters, about a year difference in age, chose to become friends. They became friends and lived together for 3 years.
Wow.
How often does that really happen? And now again, our children and our grandchildren you know what I mean? It is. And it's just like we have been together.
Oh, wow. I want to shift here because we have a lot of entrepreneurs and businessmen, people that listen to the show. And
yeah,
how did you apply what you learned from going back and learning to trust yourself, learning to like yourself? How can that hinder us? But for you too, how did that help you in business to really go out there and say, I'm going to make this happen? Talk to us about that a little bit, if you don't mind, because I think there's a lot of, as we're talking about this topic today, it's like there's a lot of entrepreneurs that aren't making it because they don't like themselves and they don't trust themselves.
Right. So it goes back to, and as a goal achievement strategist, I work with people to really dig deep to find out where they are, where they're starting from, so that then we can get them to where they want to be. So that's the first piece, finding point A. The point B is figuring out where they want to be. Most people have a difficult time to allow themselves to dream big, and really, really think about what it is that they want. What do they want to have? What do they want to be? What do they want to do? And really looking at and stretching themselves, so that's the thing, is putting those pieces together, because when you can take your purpose and your why, and then you can add what I say, sensory vision, because I teach sensory vision for people to look at their dream and goal. You've heard of vision boards. Yes. Everybody's heard of vision boards. I teach vision boards in 5D. And what I mean like that, I want people to be able to close their eyes and feel what it will be like when they have achieved that dream or goal. What it feels like, not just physically, but emotionally. What does it smell like? When you've already, what is the air crisp? Is it a salty air? Where you are having that achievement, so what does it feel like? What does it smell like? What does it sound like? What does it taste like? Take all your senses and add that to that. When you close your eyes, you can be there. So if you have your purpose and your why and you have your sensory vision there, you're unstoppable.
Wow.
You're unstoppable.
Wow. You said something that is so powerful there, because when you feel it, we don't realize that we're magnets, to say, and I use this in my corporate training. We're magnets, and we attract to ourselves how we're magnetized. And when you start feeling, right, when you feel yourself, that it's amazing. And when you have that higher vision, you'll start to attract the people, the situations, the places that you need to be at to achieve those goals. So let me ask you this, because now you got my attention.
Yeah.
For myself, I really had to get a bigger vision, get a bigger dream.
Mm-hmm.
You start doing that. What is an action step that somebody can take and I'll be totally honest, right? My goal, I've been saying this for a long time, but I can really say I really started believing it for myself these past 3 years, that, hey, I'm going to be a multimillionaire. And we had our best year in business. And as you're getting closer and closer there, what's an action step that I can take or somebody can take when you're there, but you're on the brink and you're like, man, it's getting more challenging. What's something that somebody can do with that?
When it starts getting that rough and you are there, that's like the picture, and you see the people digging under the tunnels and they're almost to that pot of gold, and one person's almost there and they're going to give up and they're like this far from being there. You have to have the courage and consistency. And those are the pieces that I tell people, because when somebody is almost there, you're saying, oh, I've been doing this for so long. And I want this. The thing is, you need to step back and reevaluate, because you have to have what you're working towards to be so embedded in you that you're not going to second guess. You're going to know, if I keep on going, I will get there. And that's the thing if you're that close, you are doing the right things.
Boom. I like that, right? If you keep on going, you're going to get there. I love that. Write that down, man. I'm telling you, Patty. Woo, man, this is amazing. Great episode. I'm sorry. I'm just getting excited for you, because they can't see you. I can see you, but
But so, Daniel, going back to, God has a plan for us, right?
Yes.
And sometimes how this works is we don't necessarily get there when we want to get there. The timing, he knows when and where things are going to happen. We just have to know that it's going to happen. It doesn't happen on our timetable, and that's the thing for us to step back and realize God helps those who help themselves. You just need to keep doing what you're doing to move forward. And brother, you are doing the right things.
So let me ask you this. I want to ask you this, because man, I'm loving the show. I really am. What does Patty Grover do to stay consistent? You said courageous and consistent, right? I love that, right? Because I think of Joshua, right? Be bold as a lion, be courageous. And what does Patty Grover do to be courageous and consistent?
Courageous meaning I can look back, and again, having it's like I've built my own toolbox, and what I say by that is, when you have had those wins, put all the good things, put those in your toolbox, utilize that toolbox, because that empowers you. It's all about having those things. But it also, when you have to plan, you have to put into your schedule your planning and calendaring days, and really look at that. Because if you don't keep on your plan that you've put together, because we all have measurables, whether it's I teach to people to budget your time, budget your money, and budget your energy. And what happens is, if we get too far off track and we aren't using our planning days, then we can get derailed. And I say that's how I keep that consistency. And no matter what I am doing, if I have those planning days built in. So I do weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly for that. It can be that simple. You're familiar with, and I'm sure you don't know who Dr. Wayne Dyer is.
Yes, I've heard of him.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
So what he says, is it's never crowded along the extra mile. Daniel, I want everybody to think about it this way. When you really hear that at first, you think the high achievers that are up here. There aren't too many people way up here, but it's what those people are doing that got them there. And that's 8% of the people. It's not the 92% of the others. But what those 8% of the people are doing is behind the scenes. It's really what they do before they're building their big dream or goal or big business or whatever it is. They're laying their foundation. They're laying that strong foundation for these grand and glorious things to be built upon. And that is putting together those smarter plans. And
by you saying that, I just believe that so many times, and I've been impatient like that, right? It takes time to build a quality foundation, and the word that it comes to mind is of integrity, of strength, and it takes time with that. So wow, that's a great analogy. Let me ask you this. What is unique? What is distinctive about Patty Grover? What makes her unique and distinctive?
Oh my goodness. That's harder to say for myself about, it's hard to pat yourself on the back. And what I would say, Daniel, is I know that I am no better than anyone else. I know that I am only human, and I have all the same flaws and mistakes that anybody else has. But what I have learned, and that's what I've learned from other people's wisdom, as well as what I've gained on my own, because from pain comes wisdom. But what I have learned is that we all have baggage. So if we name it and claim it, then take that suitcase and unpack it. You get rid of those things that no longer fit the new you. And you set aside, get rid of those things that no longer serve you purpose. And then put out what it is that you want. What is it that you want to have, be, and do? Really figure it out and put that out to the world and have that that's what you want. Again, when we were talking about when you are setting that expectation, you have to do that. You have to do that for yourself so you can manifest and set plans to move forward. And it's that whole process you go through. And then you add your courage and your consistency, and you stick to those plans and work them through. So I would say for what sets me, and what I would say is I walk my own talk daily.
Wow. Boom, baby. I walk my talk. I walk my own talk.
Yeah. And I'm no different than anyone else. And so I say lock arms with me and walk my talk with me.
And I've met just people in general in life that they always talk a story. They always talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk.
Right.
And they wonder why things don't go the way they had hoped, or why things always seem to come full circle again, and they find themselves in a situation, because you can't be a leader of yourself or of other people and expect that of other people and not expect it of yourself. And I love that. Let me ask you this. Yeah. What is a quote or a scripture that definitely carries you during these times of challenge that come into your life? What do you lean on? What do you say to yourself at that moment? What do you go back and read? What's a scripture or a quote?
I've never been purposely wise, witty, or wonderful, but I've always been perfectly me.
I love that. I'm perfectly me.
Yeah, perfectly me.
I love that.
And I'm happy to be perfectly me. I'm not in competition with anyone else. I've gotten to know, like, and trust and love myself. And that's who I am. I am me.
Wow, that's powerful, right? I love that you said that, because so many times, and I was guilty of this when I first started, because you don't, I mean, God tells you, hey, you're going to be a motivational speaker, go do this. You're like, well, where do I start? And even though I've spoken at schools and at work and corporations, right, as a profession, it's a totally different game.
Right.
And I found myself like looking to the left and looking to the right. And in reality, one just needs to look within. And when you look within, the answer lies within.
Yes, exactly. And Daniel, yes, I do use a lot of motivation and I do use a lot of positivity in everything that I try to do within my life. But when I say what I am as a speaker, I would say I am more of an activational speaker because it comes to, you have to put action to the different steps. So people can get motivated and have that energy and everything, but until they take those steps and put those steps into action, that's where I come in. I come into taking the action steps. What is it that's going to move you? And those things can be daunting, and it can be. And when you heard me sharing of the different things, for people to really dig deep inside, that can be very emotional. It's hard to be vulnerable to oneself. It really is. Because we judge ourselves and hold ourselves to different standards than we might even hold others to.
Wow. That's, Yes.
You can give another person grace that you may not give yourself.
They need to write that down. Say that again.
Say, you may not give yourself the grace that you would give another if you saw them in the same circumstance that you're in.
Wow, that is so. I want to end this show on a positive note.
Yes.
So my question to you is, what did you accomplish in 2020 that was like, yeah, I did it, baby, woo! Like what really just lit you up to that place of bliss in 2020?
Daniel, I've taken what my book is a tool. I created my whole platform around my book, offering webinars, courses, workshops. And from all of that came my show, the Patricia Joe Grover Show, which the Patricia Joe Grover Show is we turn believers into achievers. But now I actually am going with upgrading that to Rise Above with Patricia Joe Grover, because I've had guests on my show that have shared struggles that they've had, but also triumphs. And that's what it's all about. Because with the show, we encourage, we empower, and educate people to know that they are worthy, that they are capable, and that they're not in this alone. So sharing the stories, is that way. So from the show, I have invited all the people that I've had as guests on my show over the past year to a mastermind and networking group that people are able to grow their know, like, and trust of each other to confidently be able to recommend each other internationally. So this is helping entrepreneurs be able to grow their reach and expand what they're doing with their own businesses. And it's also providing the people who are watching these contents from the summit, from my shows, it's getting the message passed and helping people globally be able to reach their dreams and goals.
Wow.
So when you said what has happened in 2020, that's what I used 2020 to do. And from that also, now I'm working on bliss retreats for women. And from after that, I am working on, and by summer, we're looking at having authors contribute to an anthology book series to go out to serve. It is all about service.
You've had a lot of success in 2020. So all those successes, which one's the most blissful for you?
My show.
Boom, baby.
Yep.
So where do we find Patricia J. Grover, her show, and how do we connect with you if someone from the audience wants to follow you and tune in with you?
Yeah, patriciajoegrover.com. So right there is all of that. I have gifts that if people, I have a text opt-in. I don't know if you want me to go ahead and share that.
Do it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. If you text the word goal to 26786, I have gifts there for you to help you get everything, be able to put an understanding so you can start putting your foundation together to be able to achieve the dreams and goals that you have set for yourself. You have big wins
Wow.
Available to you.
You were an amazing guest today. I got to say, you really put a smile, not just on my face, but in my spirit, in my heart, and my soul. And thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to follow a sincere woman who's doing it and is powerful and real, follow Patty. She's amazing. I call her Patty, but her show is Patricia Joe Grover. But
right.
She's just beautiful. And I want to just thank y'all for tuning in. And the beautiful thing about this is we talked a lot about business and everything. And if you need help, reach out to me at daniel@danielgomezspeaker.com. I would love to help you to elevate your business, elevate your life, and just a lot of the topics that we talked about today. We all have these things that are buried inside of us that don't come out. And I would love to give you a complimentary 30-minute strategy. Just email me, daniel@danielgomezspeaker.com. And that's a wrap for this week's episode. We would love to see you next week here. Tune in on the Daniel Gomez Inspires Show. Thank you for tuning in, guys. This is Daniel Gomez, and thank you so much for tuning into our show today. We'd love your feedback. Please drop us a comment, and thank you for leaving us a review. Don't forget to subscribe to our show and share this episode with a friend. And my free gift for listening to our show today is a copy of my best-selling book, You Were Born to Fly. To get your free copy, go to danielgomezinspires.com and get your copy today. That's danielgomezinspires.com. And to elevate your life and business even more, follow me on social media at Daniel Gomez Inspires on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence.